Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm PixieStyx and today I'm going to be doing my yearly redraw of my self-portrait. And usually this is accompanied by like a meet the artist tag or some kind of a survey or questionnaire about getting to know more about me. So this time I thought I would ask you all if you had any questions for me so that I'd have something to talk about that maybe you didn't already find out about me in the previous two videos that I've done of these. So I'm going to jump right into it and answer your questions while the speed paint is going on here so you can see how this drawing came about, and then maybe I'll probably talk about the drawing itself a little bit once I'm done answering these questions. I'm just kind of answering them off the cuff, so I haven't pre-planned anything, so if my answers aren't fully developed or thought out, that's why, but I thought it was more interesting coming from the heart. So the first question is from the Artsy Pineapple, and her question is, when did you decide to start a Patreon, and what advice would you give to someone thinking about it? My Patreon story is a little bit unique, I think. I hadn't really considered it because at the time I started it in 2016, 4 years ago, I wasn't super confident in my artistic ability or what kinds of rewards I could offer. So I was kind of on the fence, but I'm a fan of Peter Hollins here on YouTube. He's a singer and he's awesome. And we're friends on Facebook, and he had posted asking if there were any graphic designers available to help him with a quick project. And since I'm a graphic designer by trade, I offered to help. And so he looked at some of my work and watched my recent illustration video too and said that I should go ahead and hop on Patreon because it's a great platform for artists and creatives to be supported by those who like what they're doing. And so he was actually my first patron after I went ahead and created that. He's no longer a patron, but he was for about 3 years. So that was pretty cool. I thought that was nice of him. And just that extra push of support from somebody who has been so successful was a huge inspiration for me to get started. I have definitely learned a lot on the 4 years I've been on Patreon. Some of that I was taking a break for a good bit of it, I think. And I used that time to help me really decide what I wanted to do with the tiers on my Patreon. So some of the advice I would give is to have a clear plan in place for what you would offer for each tier, and make sure that you feel comfortable with what you are giving in return for what you're getting. Make sure it's something that isn't going to stress you out too much or be impossible for you to keep up with, but make sure it's something that you feel is worth what people are giving you. Another thing I've learned about working with Patreon is that it seems to help a lot when you offer some kind of a physical reward tier, which comes with it a lot of different things you have to learn about, like shipping and all that jazz. But people really enjoy getting things sent to them by someone that they support. So consider offering physical rewards if you can. The next question is from Sam, and she asks, how much do you think you've improved since last year? And is there anything you wish you would have worked to improve more? And I think she's talking specifically about this artwork that I'm working on, the Draw This Again that I do every year. So I didn't go into it thinking that I have improved much since last year, because I really still like last year's drawing. But then once I sat down to actually do this artwork, it really did seem like I've improved a lot. I was able to get a likeness of myself much easier than I did last year. And I was able to pose my body in such a way that it was an interesting pose and still be able to put on the right body type, which in the past would have been very difficult for me. It's a lot easier to draw like a thin body type in different positions because there's a lot more references for those kinds of things. So drawing my body, which is a little bit fluffier, can be difficult for me, which you might be able to tell in the past couple ones that I did. So this time I felt like I was more accurate with that. I did try to do some dramatic lighting to make this one more interesting, and I've tried that before in other pieces, and it's just something I have a lot of trouble with. So I wish I could have improved more on the lighting, but other than that, I'm pretty proud of this one. I got a couple of questions about how I balance my workload and my social media postings and YouTube and family and all that stuff. So I will answer that by saying I'm only human. I'm doing the best I can. It's not easy, and a lot of times I don't succeed. So sometimes videos go up late, or I neglect my Instagram for a while. I don't really have very many followers on Instagram because I'm not that consistent, and consistency is a big thing on Instagram. So I guess I'm not focusing too much on that one, and that's part of what I would say is a way to balance things, is to choose a few things that you really want to focus on, because you can't do everything, and throw your everything into those ones you feel like you have time for, and just do your best on the other ones. It's really all we can do. If my Instagram doesn't grow as fast as my YouTube, that's okay with me, because I'm focusing more on my YouTube and my Patreon. Also, I don't sleep a lot, which isn't healthy and I don't recommend it. Okay, Diane Thurman asks, what led you to create art? And what do you like to draw the most? And I got that question a couple of times too, as far as what I like to draw the most. So I'll answer that a bit later when I get to those questions. But as for what led me to create art, I think I mostly have the same response as a lot of artists. I've been drawing and painting and doing creative things since I was a little kid, and just never got out of the desire to do those things. I think some people are just more interested in those things than other people. Some people have a mechanical mind, some people have a creative mind. So I just am a creative. What led me into creating it more often as I was older, because I did take a pretty big break in my life doing other things, playing video games, working, but one of the things that led me to come back into art is actually the idea that I could have a digital tablet and draw on the computer and not have to have all these expensive art supplies in order to make the kind of art I wanted. It sounds kind of silly, but I didn't realize that graphics tablets were something that I could have. I was thinking they were for businesses and really expensive, and that only people who could afford the best can have those. And a friend of mine told me about my first tablet, which is a mono-price drawing tablet that it wasn't a screen tablet, it was just a regular 10x6 drawing tablet, and it was $50. And I was like, really? $50? I can buy that. So I bought it, and it was definitely a learning curve. I would say that I was kind of discouraged when I first started using it because it wasn't natural to use. Like it definitely required some getting used to in how to create art with it, and what the different programs did and which one I preferred. So if you get one and don't like it off the bat, I'd say that's completely normal. Just keep trying. If it's something you really want to do, it gets easier, much easier. Now I find digital art much easier to work with than traditional art, so it just takes time. Okay, the Artistic Newfie asked a couple of questions. The first one is, what's your least favorite art supply? That one's a bit tough because I'm still kind of new to traditional supplies. When I was younger and I worked primarily with traditional supplies, it was always just graphite pencil mostly. So I guess if we're talking about art supplies I've ever used, my least favorite is probably charcoal. I don't like the feeling of it, and I don't really like my results when I use it because it's not my art style. It's so dark and chalky, and it needs a lot of contrast, and I like to paint cute cartoony things, and charcoal just doesn't really fit the bill for that stuff. And her other question is, if you could choose to live anywhere in the world, where would it be? If I had no other considerations like family, work, and all that stuff, I would probably choose to either live on an island in Ireland or somewhere tropical. I love the heat, but I also love Ireland. I've never been there, but it's definitely one of my dreams to go there someday. And I would love to live there, I think. But no matter where it was, it would have to have good internet. Liz V. Art asks, what's something weird about you? What's not weird about me, all right? I guess I'd say something weird about me is that I'm not very social in real life. Like, I'm happy to just sit at home most of the time. I like hanging out with my family and doing stuff with them, but I have one or two friends locally, but before the pandemic, We saw each other about once a week, and we had to schedule that because otherwise, for me, the weeks would just go by and I wouldn't realize that that much time had passed before I saw them again. It's not that I mean to not talk to people. It's more that I don't realize how long it's been since I've talked to people, and time just kind of passes me by. And it does that with my online relationships too. If you ever talk to me like on Discord, you might notice that I go long periods of time without starting a conversation with people. And it's not because I don't want to talk to people. It's because I don't realize how much time it's been since I said something to that person. Yash Creations asks, who's your favorite YouTuber? And that is a very difficult question to answer. I like so many art YouTubers, it's just insane. I follow so many that I'm a week behind right now in my subscriptions because I didn't have time to keep up. But I enjoy it thoroughly, I'm addicted. I love all of those larger YouTubers that everybody knows about. I could name all of them. That's the problem, is when someone asks me who my favorite is, I don't want to leave anyone out. There's so many people that I love to watch and really love their content, and those are just the bigger ones. And then the smaller ones I sometimes like even more because they're more personal, you know? I would love to do a video or a series of videos sometime where I highlight my favorite smaller YouTubers and kind of talk about why I like their channels. If that's something you'd like to see, please leave a comment below and let me know, and I can definitely do that because there are some people I'd really love to promote. Okay, now I have another batch of questions, this time from Ludo Sketches. She says, what is your favorite medium and favorite subject to draw? So this goes back to Diane's question too, who also asked what I like to draw the most. I like to draw people the most. I also really love drawing people in environments. So I like characters, basically, and I like art to have a story behind it and a reason to exist, I guess. I'm really interested in doing a comic someday, or webcomic, or a graphic novel, and I have, thoughts percolating about that. I've always really wanted to write a children's book and illustrate it myself, so definitely have some ideas for those. So I just like to draw illustrations. Cute, mystical, fascinating. I really like magical things that bring out nostalgia in me. Her next question is, when did you realize art was more than a hobby? And this one is a little bit easier to pin down. That is when people started requesting to pay me for my art. So basically when I started getting requests to do commissions, that's when I realized that, hey, maybe I could turn this into something more. And so my goal ever since then, even though it's been a long road and I'm still not there yet, is to get to the point where art can be my sole job. I'm really hoping that I can make that dream a reality someday, and of course with all your help, since you're helping to support that dream by watching this video. When I was younger, I didn't really think it was possible to be a freelance artist and make enough money on that to survive. That was before the invention of the internet, or at least before it was mainstream and everyone had the opportunity to go online and just find creators that way, or put themselves out there as a creator. I think that one change has made all the difference for small creators and small business owners who want to do art, and I just really appreciate that opportunity. Okay, Ludo Sketch's last question is, when did you start drawing? And I think I've touched on that a little bit in some of my previous answers. I've been drawing all my life, but 2012 is when I got my digital tablet and kind of reinvigorated my love for art and drawing. So I've been drawing more consistently and with a purpose since about 2012. So about 8 years now. Okay, so that's all the questions I received. I hope I answered them to your guys' satisfaction. I did my best. So here is 2018, 2019, and 2020. So that is the past 3 years. Technically it's only been 2, but it's the 3 years worth of self-portraits that I have done. Can you see an improvement? I can see an improvement. Which one is your favorite? Let me know in the comments down below, and don't forget to comment for this week's Win of the Week thread. My win of the week this week is that I set a launch date for my shop. So my shop will be opening on October 1st, and I'm really excited. So that's it for this week's video. I hope you all enjoyed it and learned a little bit about me that you didn't know before. I'm sorry if you heard any traffic noise going by. I wanted to film this in the daylight so there was light, but that means there's more cars going by and I can't really do much to stop that. Anyway, I will see you all next video. If you stuck around this long and liked what you saw, please consider subscribing so that you can see my future videos, and give this video a like. Bye everyone.